All right. So welcome everyone to um, the Euphoria Embodied. Me and Tatia are really excited to share this one with you guys. Um, so we're going to start with a grounding meditation. So go ahead and take a moment to settle into wherever you're seated or lying down. Get nice and comfortable. And take a moment, look around your space, maybe looking all the way over your right shoulder. And then all the way back to center, all the way over your left shoulder, just letting your body take everything in. And then all the way back. And then eventually closing down the eyes if that feels supportive. And starting to allow the body to arrive here. Maybe feeling into the energy of the Zoom. And then bringing the awareness, orienting back towards the sensations in your own body. Take a deep inhale through the nose, fully exhale through the mouth. Then go ahead and start to notice a part of the body that's calling for your attention. Normally, these sensations are more on the unpleasant side when they're kind of calling or yelling for us to pay attention to them. And just noticing where that is in your body. Maybe bringing a hand to that place. And without trying to change it or shift it, just staying present with it for a few moments. And then starting to notice now a part of the body that feels good or that feels neutral or good enough. And start to bring your awareness to that part of the body. If there's multiple, whichever one calls you the most. Maybe bringing a hand to that place on the body if that's accessible. And then imagining sending the breath there on the inhales. Inhale through the nose. Exhale the sound. Deep inhale. Honest exhale. And then when you're ready, bringing the awareness back to the entire container of the body. Noticing how the body takes up space in whatever room you're in. And then blinking the eyes open, gazing around your space. Over both shoulder. And then back to the screen, feeling into the energy of this Zoom room and Zoom container. Zoom tight. All right. So welcome you guys to Euphoria Embodied. I'm going to share my screen. So we're gonna take this trip together because it's always interesting. Here we go. One of the dogs is going into the pool. All right. We made it. All right, welcome to Euphoria Embodied. So I'm going to do a really brief explanation of who I am. So my name's Callie. I go by Callie Somatics on social media. A really little bit about me is I studied yoga in India. That's where I got my 200 certification. I have a background in Tantra and women's embodiment. I also have a background in different somatic therapies. Um, my personal story is that I am a recovering people pleaser. I won Friendliest in high school, which I feel is an award that really illustrates how good I was. I was so good growing up. And I've really used somatics to support my body in fawning less and connecting to a deeper authenticity. There's this phrase that it's you either die a hero or live long enough to become a villain. I find that very true. I lived long enough to become a villain from my good girl arc. And a big part of my villain arc has been claiming pleasure. We're going to go into like why that's so important. So that's really what we're focused on today. So I'm going to introduce now my friend, my dear friend, Tatiana Nesello from Brazil. She's an amazing yoga teacher and embodiment teacher, and I've learned a lot from her both professionally and just personally as well. So she's co-hosting here today with me, and I'm going to let her share a bit about herself before we move into the meat and bones of this session.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Hello, everyone. My name is Tatiana. You're more than welcome to call me Tati. I am American. I was actually born in the United States, but I grew up in Brazil. So you will hear a little accent behind. I do consider myself Brazilian. I grew up there. My family's there. My roots are there. But I'm still emerging into the entire world. I feel like we're all from all the world. So as you start to travel and connect with different people, you start to exchange a little bit of this connection, and eventually we're like all connected into one place. Yeah, I've been teaching yoga for the past 8 years. This is really what the first introduction to all this type of work, this ancient different techniques that I like to call. And yoga was my main door. I moved to the United States about 8 years ago, and as soon as I moved here, I of course was going through a lot of challenges in my life. I didn't have my friends anymore. My family was all in Brazil. I was like, what I'm gonna do now? And I just landed into this teacher training, which really changed my life. And that inspired me to keep doing the work and learning more and more so I can share more and more. And eventually 3 years ago, I actually went through a little divorce, almost divorce. And it's almost like my entire role was falling apart. So that's where I actually got introduced to the Embodied feminine arts work, where gave me a lot of teachings around how to feel pleasure and what really is pleasure. How does that feel in my body? How do I like pleasure? How do I don't like pleasure? And everything that entails that. I'm also a sound healer, so I love working with the sound. I feel like they can be very therapeutic, and they add a lot to the work that we're doing here as well. A meditation teacher, breathwork facilitator, and I also love cold plunges. Anyone else? They really put me into like this state where everything is out of my mind. Like once you are immersed in the cold, there's nothing else that you need to think about it, because you're literally trying to survive into this ice plunge. So this is a little bit about my background. I'm so excited to be here with Callie. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I'm so excited to be here with all of you.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Tati. This is a collaboration that's been a long time coming. So yes. So we're gonna do this session kind of in two parts. So I'm gonna give a bit of lecture about like what is pleasure, why are we even talking about pleasure, a bit about the physiology of pleasure and how it relates to somatics, and then Tatiana will guide us through a practice. So that's what you can expect. So before we move forward, go ahead and look at the word on the screen. It says pleasure. Go ahead and just notice how the body receives that word. What arises in the body, in sensation, images, words. And then if you feel comfortable doing so, I'd love to hear what came up for you in your body in the chat. Feeling good. Feel deep shame and guilt around pleasure. Sense of calm and fluid energy. Tingling. Thank you for sharing. So there's a lot of variation here. As it normally is in any kind of somatic session where I have people contribute to the chat, there's always a lot of variation. And I want to just mention about feeling deep shame. I feel that this is very common when working with pleasure. I know me and Tatiana see this a lot in our work, where pleasure is often overcoupled with a sense of shame and guilt. And so part of what we're going to be doing today is starting to uncouple that from the shame and the guilt, and what is pleasure like when it's just in its more pure form and uncoupled from these things that maybe we've grown up with and feel. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right. And I'm going to briefly reference my notes. Okay. So go ahead and close your eyes and imagine someone throwing a baseball at your face and notice what happens in the body. Usually there's a sense of clenching, and this happens on different levels. So maybe you felt a clenching in your abdomen, clenching around the organs. Maybe notice the breath. And then go ahead and open your eyes. Shake it off. So this clench is part of a survival mechanism that is really normal. It's how we're wired. Whenever we feel a sense of stress, or we are anticipating some kind of stress or stressor, there's a sense of clench that happens in the body. It's like a fist getting really tight, and it happens on throughout the muscles, even around the organs. There's like this sense of clench. I like to think of a guy, like a really muscly, like Gaston guy who's like, punch me, do it, come on. Like, he's not just like hanging out his belly during that. He's clenching his abs so that when you punch him, it's like hard and it protects his organs that are behind his, 6 or 8 pack or whatever he's got going down there. So bracing and clenching is a very safe feeling place for the body because it's this protective mechanism. So when we have experienced chronic stress or trauma in our lives, there's often this state of chronic clenching or bracing that happens in the body. And the reason why pleasure can feel so scary or even unsafe for a lot of us when we start to move into pleasure is because there is a opening that has to happen with pleasure. So if we have like the super tight fist of bracing, pleasure is an opening. So if you even think of like the posture of pleasure, you can even like go into that now. Like, what is pleasure? What does my body want to do when I'm thinking of pleasure? Often there's a sense of opening across the heart, maybe looking up. There's this sense of opening and a sense of softening and a sense of receiving that has to happen in the body in order for pleasure to be present. And when we are going through life like this, which I can be the first one to say, like, I love that feeling. It feels very safe. Um, Opening might not feel natural and it might feel just not very safe for the nervous system. This is why a lot of us may have trouble relaxing as well because we're letting go of that clench. So go ahead and notice just how that information landed in your body or where it landed in your body. If you have any thoughts or sensations, you can share that in the chat. I'm going to reference my notes again briefly. So this is kind of the body's experience with pleasure. So the thing about pleasure, along with being a sense of opening, is that it is also the most resourcing thing that we can feed our nervous system. So something that is resourcing is something that builds your nervous system's capacity to hold stress and consistently engaging in activities that bring you pleasure. And I'll just say this explicitly. When I say pleasure, I'm not talking about sex, although it's definitely under the umbrella for some of us of what is pleasurable in our lives. Pleasure can look like feeling the sun on your face, having the ability to slow down enough to take in how that sensation feels on your skin, can be drinking tea. It's really any moment that you are able to be present for and take in, and it feels good. I had a teacher once say pleasure is just presence. And I would say maybe presence that feels good. So pleasure is the most resourcing thing that we can give our nervous system. So I'm going to briefly talk about capacity, and I have these little glasses to do so. So when we talk about like pouring from an empty cup, I feel like we've all heard the expression, I can't pour from an empty cup, or I need to fill up my cup. I'm going to use the example of instead of putting water in the cup, let's just get a bigger cup. So if stress is the water that you're like pouring into a cup, and I have like this little guy, like I'm not sleeping very good, I'm maybe, the holidays right now, I can say for myself as well, whatever it is that is causing you stress, added up chronically, it lessens your body's ability to hold stress. So it's like a little stress feels like it gets you to your breaking point faster. But when you do things to resource your body, we all know like the kind of boring stuff: get good sleep, eat good food, blah, 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 meditate, yoga, workout, then you have a bigger container to work with so that when stress enters, it doesn't overwhelm us as quickly. And that's all to say that the fastest way and the most efficient way to expand your body's capacity from this to this is by engaging in activities that are pleasurable for your body. So that's why pleasure is so important, and that's why we're having this conversation. Pleasure is just really important for everything, and especially when we're doing, like, my work specializes in people being really uncomfortable. Like my work is about, healing from people pleasing and healing from fawning. And all of that requires stepping out of your comfort zone normally. And it requires, setting boundaries and using your voice and doing things that put stress on your nervous system. That's the reality. They put stress on your nervous system. And that's why I find that my work goes so well coupled with this conversation about pleasure. I've actually been incorporating this into all my courses lately because it is so vital to have this bigger container to handle stress when we are doing any kind of shadow work or therapy or trauma work or anything where we're looking to expand our capacity for life. This conversation feels really important. So, that being said, let's do a little check in. How is this landing? Oh, amazing. Landing and resonating. Beautiful. I like it. Anna, I've been watching so much Anna Delvey stuff. I'm just reading your comment in the it's landing and resonating for me accent. I want the biggest glass. Great info explains why I feel tightness around pleasure. Yes. And on that too, pleasure is something that we we build our capacity to hold. So just like anything, it's if the body is in this clench, and somatics really is not about we have the clench and like, okay, great, pleasure's on the other side of this. Let me just claw this guy open. That's normally not really an effective way to work with the body. The body likes to work slow. And I know both me and Tatiana, we know that in our backgrounds, especially around pleasure, it's something that's very titrated and very slow. So when we start doing this kind of work, and we're going to do a little practice right now, Tati, working in little moments, finding those little, you can start by finding glimmers in your day. That's a really good place to start. But just very slowly building the body's capacity to hold more pleasure bit by bit. And then eventually, no, there's really no end goal in it. But it's just learning to incorporate it into your daily experience that I find really helpful. Explains my personal growth from a tiny bottle to a bigger bottle. Yeah. It's really the nervous system's ability to handle stress. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to turn it over to Tatiana to our practice.
Thank you, Callie. Are we all ready to feel a little bit of pleasure in our body? And I just wanted to start by, we had a lot of different ways that pleasure land in our body when we were typing up on the chat. And it can mean a lot of different things for different people. And today we're going to change the word pleasure to feeling good. So take a moment to just close your eyes. Take a moment to land in your physical body, to notice, how are you today? Maybe you're finishing your day, you're ready to go to bed, you're feeling sleepy. Maybe you're just waking up, listening to this. You're ready to run your day. Whatever that is for you today, take a moment to connect with that. Notice sensations, noticing your thoughts, what's happening in your mind. And gently doing a body scan from the crown of your head, your energy field, all the way down to your eyes, to your mouth, down your throat, and to your shoulders. We hold a lot of tension into our shoulders. This is our survivor mode. So take a moment to drop your shoulders down. affirming to your body there's nothing for you to worry at this moment besides being here and now, besides connecting with you. And as you start to travel down, connecting to your heart. How is your heart feeling? How fast is it beating? How slow is it beating? Navigating down through your spine, connecting with your hips, the place where we stored a lot of emotions. Maybe some of those are coming up for you. And just allowing them to come without attaching yourself, letting them flow. We're going to slowly travel all the way down to our knees until we land into the soles of our feet. And as you connect to the soles of your feet, take a moment to slowly do the way back up. But this time, I want you to notice sensations that you feel throughout your entire body. So you can even use your hands, guide your hands to your feet, and start to notice, like, is there a place here in my feet that actually feels good to touch, to connect? What is the pressure that you like? And then slowly you're going to start to travel up to your calves, giving yourself a gentle massage. Have you ever done that? It feels so good. Giving yourself some love, showing yourself some support. Like, I got you. I'm here for you. And then slowly coming all the way up to your knees. How are your knees feeling? Can you send some healing energy there? All the way up to your thighs. What is feeling good? And also noticing what is not feeling good. This is also a very important part of learning what brings you pleasure. We're going to go all the way up to our hips, connecting with our hip bones, maybe pressing your both hands on top of your belly. Connecting to your breath, and maybe allowing your exhales to be loud, allowing your vocal cords to really bring the connection to your physical body. We're going to slowly travel up, connecting to your chest, and then just crossing your hands side to side, giving yourself a gentle little hug. How does that feel in your body? Does it feel good? Do you feel supported? Allowing your hands to slowly lower down as you travel up to your throat, to your mouth, relaxing your jaw, relaxing your eyes, and then slowly reconnecting to the crown of our heads. As you inhale, take a moment to blink your eyes open, landing back here in this place. And I want you guys to get a piece of paper and a pen. So we're all gonna take a little break too. And before we do that, so we're gonna get a piece of paper, a pen, and I want you to find something in your kitchen or maybe in your bathroom that activate your essence, like something that smells good for you. They're like, I really like the smell of the perfume that I have in my bathroom, or I really like the taste of this chocolate that I have hiding in my kitchen, or oh, I really like the smell of coconut oil. So we're gonna take a quick little break of like 2 minutes for you to go grab a piece of paper, a pen, and then something that activates your body. However, it's something that feels good. So it could be like coconut oil, it could be chocolate, it could be a fruit, it could be, what else? Maybe a pasta. If you have a pasta, you're like, oh, dinner is ready. I'm ready to eat. Go grab it. That smells good. You're like, oh, this is so good. Connect with whatever feels good. And we're all going to go grab that for us. And we're all going to come with different things. So take a little moment to go grab whatever it is, a little hunting in the house, which is fun. Isn't it fun? Like going around like, what is good for me right now? Like chasing something delicious to eat. And this is what pleasure is about. You have your own unique way to connect to pleasure, and we're all so different. So, like, we need to find what works for us. What works for us is not the thing that's going to work for our friends, for our family, for our parents. I think we're just waiting on Jake, right? From what we can see, and Melissa. Melissa's back, Jake's back. Cool. Welcome back. Okay, now we're going to take a moment to find a comfortable place to support yourself. Why do I say support? Because maybe you want to lay down. Maybe you feel supported by the earth, by just like more comfortable laying down. So find, maybe this is a seated posture. Maybe you want to lay down. Maybe you want to roll to the side. Maybe you want to be standing. So find something that feels good in your body at this moment. You can stand, you can lay down. And once you get there, you start to really connect with you. You're welcome to close the window of your eyes if you desire to do so. And just start to tune into your breath. And we're all going to grab our little tool, whatever that is for you. I have some flowers here because I feel flowers are very activating. First, because they usually smell very good, and that brings a very good sensation in my physical body. Second, because they can actually tinkle. Have you guys ever played with flowers? So you probably have something that is totally different from flowers, and I hope you do. So if, whatever you have, can you smell it? What does it smell like? Smells like chocolate, smells like pasta, tomato sauce. What is this for you right now? And if you can eat, take a moment to take a little bite. Let it melt into your mouth. Let it activate your all your senses. And if you cannot eat, bring it close to your nostril. Does it smell? Does that smell activate anything in your body? If you're eating, allow that to slowly roll down your throat. We're all gonna actually play, whatever you're eating or not, you're gonna play different things. So if you have a piece of chocolate, you're gonna put it on top of your hand and just notice how that feels. And your body might say, this does not feel good. I do not like chocolate on my hand. And if it doesn't, then you're gonna take it away and you're gonna do something else. Maybe you're gonna put it on top of your cheeks and just noticing, like, what are the sensations that are being activated in your body? We all have a piece of paper. So as you start to connect with whatever you have there, we all have something different. I want you to write down, oh, it really feels good eating the chocolate, right? That's kind of obviously. Or, oh, I really do not like chocolate on my big toe. Like, that's kind of weird. If you have an incense, what is the smell? Can you sense the smoke coming up into your arm? How does that feel? We're just going to take the next few minutes to connect with that. You can put it over your body, connecting with your heart, allowing those sensations to land softly into your physical body. And taking little notes for yourself. This doesn't work. This actually works a lot. Or moments to connect with your fun tool, with your pleasure tool for today. And then slowly coming back out. If you're eating something, you're just going to place it to the side. And then from here, you should have a couple notes for yourself of what feels good using this tool that you have and what doesn't feel good. And this is really what pleasure is about. It's about identifying what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Callie actually sent me a video yesterday about mangoes. I'm absolutely obsessed with mangoes. And I'm always sharing about this. I'm like, oh my God, mangoes you can eat it frozen, you can eat it in a smoothie, like in a juice. It's always good. Like there's no way wrong to go with mangoes. And then it was this guy like just grabbing, like, oh, you really like mangoes, huh? Imagine throwing a mango at your face. How would that feel? And I was like, oh, I would not like that. And this is the same thing. So learning about what works for you, what brings you pleasure into your life is connecting with you, is bringing yourself to the present moment and using the tools that you have that are tangible for yourself to identify. I really like mangoes in my mouth, down my throat. I don't like mangoes like being thrown at me. And this was the practice that we had. You can be very playful. You can actually do this with your partner. You guys can bring like little tools with your friends, and just like everyone brings something different, and then you guys are just like changing, like, I really like this, and your friend might say like, oh, I actually really do not like this. It's not like activating pleasure in my body. Doesn't land well. Should I hand it over for you, Callie? Should we go into questions?
Yeah, I'm really curious actually, like how was that practice for everyone? If you want to drop in the chat.
I would love to know what you guys used as well. I know Callie was eating chocolate.
Best chocolate experience I've ever had in my life.
Right? And it's also about intention. Like you bring an intention to be present with whatever tool you have. And then you're able to feel all those sensations like, oh, I never thought about putting chocolate on my big toe, but now maybe I will try it.
If anyone wants to come off of mute as well, this is a perfect time for that. I'm gonna read these from the chat. Whoa. Okay. I loved it so much. I used lotion. I did not like only smelling it, but I also didn't like just putting it on my hand, but I loved rubbing it on my face slowly.
Ooh.
So good. I love my blue yarrow essential oil. A strawberry jam everywhere other than my strawberry jam everywhere other than my mouth is not cute. Okay, that's, lesson learned, Rivers. Trial and error, baby. Reminded me of a new pack of incense I forgot about. Oh,
I
yeah,
love that.
love it. Thank you guys for sharing. Yeah, I was eating this chocolate that I have that's like my favorite. I'm gonna do an ad. Favorite chocolate from Trader Joe's, the Power Berries. I basically inhale them, and I've never eaten one that slow before. And I actually sucked it, and I got to the berry part, like the naked little berry, and I was like, oh, I've never had this little naked berry before. Um, Cinnamon, it makes me so happy. Oh, I love it. And one thing I thought of during that practice was pleasure is often very coupled with this releasing the need for urgency. So obviously in our life, there's, deadlines and such. But when we talk about that clench that happens, it's often coupled with a false sense of urgency. So how do we release this false sense of urgency? Obviously, by feeling it in our bodies and maybe consciously unclenching, but doing practices like this where you're consciously orienting towards pleasure, it really kind of forces you, I don't even want to use that word forces, it allows you to slow down and thus release this false sense of urgency and maybe that clenching. I'm curious if anyone like had an experience of softening or bracing in your body. Like what was the sensation or the bodily experience while you were doing this practice? Did it bring up anything? Did anything shift? Palo Santo makes me feel so blissful. Heat felt nice and warm too. Ooh, yummy. Yummy, yummy.
Can I share?
Yes, please.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name's Ashley, and I'm so happy to be here. So thank you, Tati and Callie. It made me realize that I give myself pleasure every day, every night before bed. So I did blue yarrow because it's like my favorite essential oil, and it's actually blue. So the thing I didn't like is that it actually it stains my skin for a minute. But what I do is I put this on every night, like after I brush my teeth and I do my face and I'm like ready for bed. I put it on my wrist and I kind of bring them together and I just take a deep breath in. And it like totally relaxes me and makes me feel grounded and just like kind of triggers my brain to tell me like it's time for bed. So doing this made me realize that that's something that like I'm doing as like a little tradition for myself. And I think that's really cool to, create a little habit that's giving you pleasure every day.
I love that.
I feel like that's a really good example of how you can turn any practice into a pleasure practice, whether it's like brushing your teeth, maybe not the best example, but like post brushing your teeth with this essential oil or even drinking tea can be a pleasure practice. Like, how does the tea feel against your lips, going down your throat? Like Tati was cueing in that practice. Um, Eating meals can be a pleasure practice. Looking at flowers, really like it's very accessible to integrate pleasure practices like that into your daily experience. Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Ashley. Anyone else want to share?
I can share. Hi, I'm Anna. Thank you so much, Callie and Tatiana. I was just reflecting, because you had said to find a position, just set yourself up. And originally I like went into a fetal pose with my lotion. And I'm just thinking about the difference between like comfort and pleasure. And I think sometimes I seek comfort. I don't seek pleasure because the comfort can feel like clenching for me. So I sat up and I had this lotion. And then you said, play around with it. I've never done that. Usually I'm just like, I put it on my body as fast as I can. And I was like putting it on my arm. I'm like, this isn't really doing much. And then I'm just smelling it and this isn't doing much. And I was just like going like this on my face. I'm like, oh, this feels nice. And there was like an opening that started to happen. So I'm realizing like there's a sensation that comes with pleasure that's like very different from comfort. So that's what my experience was.
Thanks for sharing.
That's such a good share, Anna Delvey. Anna. Sorry, too much on TikTok with Anna Delvey. That's such a good thank you for sharing that. That is such a good descriptor of like how, so we were talking about the fist and how there's like a clenched fist and the last thing we want to do is pry it open. You listening to your body and going, okay, my body wants to go in this fetal position is like cradling the fist. And that's what we want to do. We don't want to try to pry it open. If the fist wants this bracing, how can you support it in the bracing? And maybe it's going into that fetal position. And then from there, and you can even do this with your fist now. Like, let's all do this practice really quickly. Actually, not quickly, slowly.
Slowly.
Slowly with no sense of urgency. So go ahead and make a really tight fist. And then with your other hand, kind of start to pry it open. And just like notice what happens in your body with this fist. And then go ahead and relax, maybe shake it out. And then do it again. Make that fist. And with your other hand, do something to support the fist. If the fist wants to be held, hold the fist. If it wants to move, how can you support it in moving? And just noticing how the fist wants to be supported. and noticing what happens when you support with this. So normally in this practice, when we start to pry it open, there's this sense of even more clenching. And you can think about that if you've ever like been like, okay, I need to relax. And you really try to relax, it like makes you more stressed. But when there's a supporting of wherever it is and just a full acceptance and support, that allows for this like opening, exactly like you described, Anna. Like, okay, my body wants to be in a fetal position. Beautiful. How can I hold it there? And then just really slowly supporting your body towards pleasure. So thank you for that example. That was perfect. Anyone else want to share? Does anyone have any questions before we wrap up? Okay. All right. Tati, any last thoughts?
I don't think so. I think it's really continue to do the practice, continue to allow yourself to be present, to connect with how one thing can feel in your body, and allowing yourself to learning how to differentiate really what works, what doesn't work, and following that. Also, something that Ashley mentioned that I just wanted to bring it up. Find a little routine, like a practice routine that brings you pleasure. Like whether that is waking up in the morning, and this is a very common one, like grabbing that cup of coffee, maybe a cup of cacao, and like taking the time to be there with whatever you're drinking, whatever you're eating, and like, oh, this feels so good. Like make sounds, let your body express itself and really connect to whatever you're doing at that moment. I feel like that's really what pleasure is about, like bringing yourself there and connecting with the sensations so you can really explore all the pleasure that we have hidden within us.
One last thing I'll say when you were talking about that, Tati, is make noise. That's a huge way that we connect to pleasure. And it's often like, I mean, understandably, we're not just like in Starbucks, like, oh God, that's coffee. Like when Harry met Sally having a full orgasm moment in a diner. But if you're able to, especially if you're in your own home and you're like eating chocolate or sniffing an oil and you just, uh, connecting to sound really is a great way to enhance and connect to pleasure as well. So if this resonates with you, thank you, Anna, for being here. Me and Tatiana are hosting a retreat next June, which sounds like a million years away, but it's coming up sort of soonish. So next June in Three Rivers, California, which is right near the Sequoias. We'll be hosting a 5-day, 4-night retreat in this beautiful property called Paradise Ranch. And we were there this last summer and we were really thinking we have to host a retreat here and it has to be focused on pleasure because the setting is really focused on just pleasure and among nature, and it's really just like luxury and nature, and it's incredible. So if this work resonates with you, we'll be doing daily yoga, daily workshops similar to this, and it's going to be really beautiful. And we have early bird pricing that ends on December 31st. So if you're interested, check out the website. I'll send a follow-up email with the recording and then the link as well. And if you have any questions about this or anything beyond, feel free to send me or Tatiana an email or DM. We'd love to hear from you, and we're so grateful that you're here. So thank you for joining, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, guys.